This is a Smith & Wesson Model 27, and it's a 27-2. You can see right in there below the serial number. And the dash 2 was the last one that had the recessed for the head of your ammo of your brass. In other words, your brass sit flush with your cylinder. The later models didn't have that recess, so when you looked in between the revolver and the frame, there was a big gap in here, and you could see the brass or the silver of the head of your brass sticking out through there. And I thought that was a rather ugly look, but it's a cheaper way to manufacture this pistol. This pistol cost around $230 back in the late 1970s. I bought this at Big Five Sporting Goods. A high school friend of mine was working there. He was the manager, and we were in there talking. And I asked him what he had in Smith in-frames. This is an in-frame Smith. And he brought this out. He says, "I'll make you a good deal on this." This came with the wooden presentation case, the cleaning kit, and came with the wood grips. And somebody before me had looked at it and dropped it and chipped the wooden grip off right here. So I forget what he sold it to me for. He knocked $50 off of it or something like that. So that was a great buy. I took that home, and I think I just sanded that chip, make it a little bit round. And then I believe these are Hogue rubber grips, and they're a little easier to shoot with these magnums. This is a .357 Magnum, Model 27. And of course, the Model 29, the famous Dirty Harry gun, it was a .44 Magnum. There was a Model 51, which was a .41 Magnum, Model 57 .41 Magnum. I had both of those. I no longer have them. And there was a .45 Colt. It was a Model 25, I believe. I think there were 4 in-frame Smith & Wessons. This is a big, heavy gun, so it takes a lot of the recoil and doesn't kick as bad as some of the K-frame or lighter pistols that Smith & Wesson makes. This one came with the wide checkered hammer with the firing pin on it, and the wide serrated trigger. These are known as a target trigger and hammer option. Beautiful blue finish. Red insert front sight, white outline rear sight, fully adjustable, cross hatching on the top ramp. Cuts down not only on the glare, but it makes it real easy to grip. It's a real nice finish. Not that you grip it up here, but it looks nice. Revolvers are always a pain to clean because you gotta pop that rag and brush down every cylinder hole. And this is a 4-inch. My 41 mag was a 6-inch, and the 44 I had was a 8 3/8 inch. I believe the 6 inches are I like the best for accuracy. They're nice and heavy. The recoil doesn't really come back to your hand. They're very accurate because of the long sight radius. But the 4-inch, if you're going to carry it in a holster, this is the way to go. Probably my most famous shot with this gun was I killed a buck. My brother and I were out riding around on the ranch on our motorcycles, and we saw a buck silhouetted under an oak tree in the shade. So I told him to sit there while I snuck down a gully on one side. There's a rock pile between the gully and the tree, so I climbed up on that rock pile, and he was laying down there looking at me by the time I got on the rock pile. And I raised up above the rock pile, Put that red insert right on his neck, squeezed off a shot, and he dropped like a bag of bricks. So, very accurate rifle, even for a 4-inch barrel. Very accurate. I really like this pistol. We'll take her out to the range and see how she shoots. The trigger and the hammer are case hardened. Everything else has got a really beautiful blue. Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum. And of course, you all know you can shoot 38s in here, so it's a little cheaper. But I've been loading for years, and I make my own ammo, so I can load 357s and shoot them in here. Yeah, this is a Hogue grip. What's it called? A mono grip. It's pretty old. Okay, Model 27. Highly recommend them. Smith & Wesson Model 27. 6 rounds. We'll start with 38s. See how it likes these 38s. And we'll shoot at that right target. Single action pull. Oh, nice. That just barely recoiled. Way off to the left, but I'll call the first one a flyer. We'll see. She's warming up. Look at that group tighten up. After we got that barrel fouled and heated up, she just creeped in there. 38s. Okay, here's some 357s that I hand loaded. Same bullet, 158 grain semi-wad cutter. You can just see the difference. It's about a 1/10 of an inch. 357 is longer, about a 1/10 of an inch. And boy, you don't want to get them powder charges mixed up. Something bad will happen when you shoot these with a overload. And then another warning, if you use them bullseye like I like to use, because it doesn't take much powder, you put about 5 or 6 grains, or I forget what the load is, but it's very little. It doesn't fill this case up under the bullet. You can double charge with bullseye or some powder that's very dense like that for power very easily and blow up your gun. So when you're reloading, you can't be drinking beer, you can't be watching NFL games, you can't be listening to what your wife thinks you ought to be out doing. You need to concentrate on what you're doing, and you need to, I random sample a whole loading block. I'll random sample 2, reweigh them and make sure my charge is accurate, and then I visually check and make sure they're not double charged. You can usually pick up that with a depth of perception. Very important. I've never double charged one. Well, I've double charged them, but I've caught them before I fired them. So I wouldn't want to be the guy who fires a double charge. So we'll see how these lead bullet 357s work. Probably be a little more recoil. Those 38s are, oh, sweet to shoot. Very little recoil. Just slightly more recoil, not a whole lot. gun jumps just a little bit more. I'm going to mix those up with the 38s. Now, here's some store-bought Federals, 158 grain soft point, jacketed soft point. These are old. They were given to me by a friend of mine. I hear the price. The price is under 10 bucks. 10 bucks, you couldn't even buy 10 rounds today. And this is a box of 50. So they're old. So we'll just try this first row of 5. And I suspect these are going to kick pretty good. Yeah, flat. Nobody shoots flat nose. Everybody today shoots hollow points in loads like this. At least that's what I've read. I don't shoot it anymore. That's too expensive. Too much recoil. I can live without recoil. That's why I load my stuff way down. All right. Watch the muzzle of this gun. It's probably going to jump pretty good. Oh yeah. I can feel that one. Considerably more powder. Oh, I was anticipating that recoil. See that muzzle dip? That's a dead giveaway. Dead giveaway when recoil owns you. He's got a little red dye around the primer seal. I don't know if anybody does that anymore. So that's a Model 27. A little more versatility. You can shoot 38s, it's cheap. You can also shoot 357s if you can find the brass. You can load 38s down, you can load them up, you can shoot jacketed hollow points in 38s, same with 357. If you want to shoot a deer with a 357, I recommend you have a jacketed hollow point or something like that. What we were just shooting, that soft point with a big powder load in it, because you don't want this thing dying out of the barrel. You want it to get to your target. So when you load this up, you can shoot 100 yards with these pistols and probably hit a black bullseye that big right there. But it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of shooting. So if you can't afford to shoot 357, keep it 38.